So there's so many things that the universe does when you just lean into it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I just said yes to a lot of these opportunities and just kind of grow from where I'm at.
Welcome back, or simply welcome to our new listeners. This is Working Wife, Happy Life, and I am your host, Bethany Baines. I have been thinking a lot about why, when we know certain things aren't good for our mental or physical or emotional health, why is it that we keep doing them? Like, this can go for anything: toxic foods, toxic habits, toxic relationships. It's not like we suddenly unknow what we once knew to be true, yet we all self-sabotage in some way. Like, for example, I know it's terrible to look at a screen right before I go to sleep or right after I wake up, but I do it anyway. It's a bad habit. It's curiosity of what could have possibly happened in the last few minutes or hours. I don't know, but I read something about this habit again last night about 11:30 p.m. while in bed on my phone with my laptop right next to me. No bueno. However, we cannot be perfect, so rather than be cruel to ourselves, let's learn today about how to create better dedication along with better mental, physical, emotional, and financial health. I cannot think of a better way to do that than with today's guests. That's right. I said guests. A working wife, happy life first. I had so much fun sitting down with this dynamic and inspirational power couple, my friend, personal trainer, and physical fitness expert, Elise Young, founder of Elise's Bodyshop, and her wife, personal finance expert turned coder, Carmen Perez, founder of Make Real Sense. Elise and Carmen share so many insights about grit and determination, both as individuals and as entrepreneurs, as well as their tips on navigating the evolution of their relationship while being driven professionally and staying true to themselves. We discuss Carmen's road to financial freedom, working her way out of crippling debt while unwinding the habits that led her there. We discuss Elise's insatiable passion for physical activity and what it means to her since her earliest years on this earth. And then, frankly, we also talk about how risky it is for couples to teach each other any form of physical sport. This conversation was so great and it was so insightful. There's so many more things I wanted to uncover with these two. Take a listen to this power-packed conversation with Elise and Carmen. Listen, thank you guys so much for being here. So I'm so excited to sit with Elise, who I feel like I've known for years, who's taught me so much about exercise and fitness and your dedication with everything that you do and bring to the community at Google for her classes that are always filled with lots of sweaty Googlers, but she somehow makes room for me every time.
Always.
And her wife, Carmen, who I just met today and feel like I have known through Instagram and all of our stories. Yeah, I know. It's so lame. It feels like real life, though.
It does.
In some ways, I feel like it's okay. Other ways, I feel like it's terrifying for humanity. But in this case, I feel like it's okay.
Yeah, it's not creepy.
Yeah, I don't know
Not
how
this.
else our paths would have crossed if
Right.
not for that. But you are also an entrepreneur and have started your own financial journey, which I'm so excited for you to share with our listeners, and are recently now into the world of tech. So I feel like you have tons of insights from your time with finance and your time with tech. But I think for both of you, particularly being entrepreneurs and kind of living your mission and your passion, because both of these things seem to have spoken so much to you guys in your lives. And I would just love to hear from each of you just kind of how this came to be and how you knew that this was your calling.
Ooh. So I guess for me, this is Elise, by the way.
She's the fast
partner
talker.
one. Slow me down. For me, I've always had this love for sports. So when I was a kid, it was always an outlet for me. It was a place where I felt myself. I felt comfortable in my skin, which was a process to grow into. So sport was my home, essentially. And with that, I always wanted to spread more knowledge and passion around that. When I went to school, I just wasn't sure exactly what the next step looked like. Mm-hmm. And I actually just kind of fell into fitness when I graduated. I was a student athlete, so what I knew was working hard and working hard within an athletic field. So when I graduated, that's kind of how I fell into personal training, which turned into group fitness, which turned into the social media side. And I always just wanted to spread my knowledge, spread my passion, spread what it did for me to as many people as possible. So that's kind of how it all started. And then I think we've talked about it before. You kind of fall into it almost by accident, and then you decide to step into it and run. And that's kind of what I've done at this point.
And take like the opportunity. What was your sport?
I played basketball.
Basketball. So you played at high school and collegiate level?
Yes. I played at Fairfield University in Connecticut.
Woo-woo.
Yeah.
Connecticut, the little state that could. I grew up there, so I feel like I could throw a little.
There's a lot of charm.
Yeah.
A lot of charm.
Yeah.
So
I grew up in the northwestern part of Connecticut. It's a little different.
It's a little
quiet.
that could.
It's very quiet. And how did your journey in finance begin? Because you were in that world in Wall Street and obviously had some personal
struggles with finance.
You said it. Your words, not mine. No, I would love to hear.
Yeah. So for me, the journey, with creating the platform that I created, as far as it relates to money and millennials, that happened kind of organically, but just stumbling around in the dark as it relates to working in finance for so long. So I worked in finance down on Wall Street in different investment firms for over the past 10 years. And then during that time, I was just trying to figure out why I was really crappy with money. I don't know if we can curse on here, but
yeah, you can curse.
Doors open.
Go for it.
Doors open.
Just really shitty with money and just not having just the best, or not having any kind of foundation as it relates to personal finance. So I was great with not other people's money because I wasn't an advisor, but just great in understanding finance in theory, but just in practice, it was a completely different animal. You don't know how to start 401k. We aren't taught how to open a 401k account in high school and why you probably shouldn't borrow against your 401k because for all the tax reasons, and just different things. So the way that I stumbled into creating this platform was really just through all of the terrible mistakes that I was making behind closed doors. And then I just wanted to say, as I tell everybody, I was a sacrificial lamb when it comes to just putting all of my business out there, because I think it's for the most part, I think a lot of generations before us it's been very taboo to talk about money.
Totally. Particularly for women. Yeah.
Particularly for women. So I think that's kept a lot of things we haven't been able to access, right? As far as negotiations for salaries as women, locked out of a lot of different conversations that we should be having. So I stumbled into this platform as far as creating something where you can be super transparent, because I know other people are drowning. Yeah. It just wasn't me. And that just happened organically. I started sharing my story, and then people were like, hey, can you give us advice on X, Y, and Z? And I was like, you're asking me?
Yeah.
I spoke at American Express last week, and it was surreal because
that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm you're asking someone that had a terrible credit score a couple of years ago to come and speak to a large group of individuals. It's just I kind of figured this out on my own and stumbled around in the dark.
But that's why it's so relatable, right?
By putting that story out there, that's where the whole platform took off.
And in some ways, both of you are this kind of, you're both millennials, right?
Yes.
I'm just assuming the age that I know Elise is, but everything we hear about millennials and the way that it's talked about both in the corporate world and the media, et cetera, there's this sense of, and I'm vast stereotype here, but this entitlement, this lack of grit, and you both have these stories that are so personal to whoa, that was really hard for me. That really made me grow. So now I'm going to go share this with everybody else. Or, wow, I made some huge mistakes and I don't want anybody else to make those mistakes. So how do I prevent folks from doing that? And it's you guys are both very open to being vulnerable. Do you see yourselves in that role? Is that what attracted you to one another? Did this happen together?
Great question.
Thank you. I pride myself on some good questions.
Yeah, so I think for me personally,
and go.
Money being so taboo in society still, no matter how much we're trying to progress the narrative, I do find myself being very vulnerable, and I'm still subject to a lot of criticism because it's like, give the people what they want to hear. It's just all these numbers and all this transparency, but then you put that out there and then people still get pissed. It's like, well, she, made a lot of money, or she was making these mistakes and I didn't do any of that. So it's tough because I have to.
Oh, so meaning people that didn't have your exact story will pick apart your story.
1,000%. Or even if it's like, I can't relate to you because of X, or, I never got sued, so I don't know if I can sue. I got sued for my student loan, by the way. It's a thing.
Wait, you got
We're
sued?
past it. We're on the other side. We are clean.
It's a real thing.
That is a real thing.
So yeah, putting that out there, a lot of people are like, well, I can't relate to that. Like, I'm good with money. I don't really have any debt. I just have my student loans. It's like, well, that's still debt.
That's a huge amount of debt.
That's debt.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel super vulnerable, and maybe that is what attracted me to Elise, because it's putting that out there was very tough. Again, we're talking about a topic that is extremely taboo. It's like, what are the 3 things you don't talk about? Money, religion, and
politics. Yeah. Good luck with that these days.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know, Elise, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think a huge part of my platform is based off of things that I know I needed at a certain time in my life. So whether that's transparency in the LGBTQ community, if that's really efficient workouts, to someone being comfortable with broad shoulders, whatever that is, I relate to giving that to others, because it took me so long to get to a place where I wanted to share that, where I felt comfortable in the skin I am. And now I'm like firmly standing on the ground, very comfortable in who I am, minus the cankle conversation we had earlier, but just firmly.
No one can get past that.
I only wear long leggings, if you haven't noticed. Just kind of absorbing everything that I know I needed at different stages, whether that was at 13, whether that was 16, 25, whatever that looks like, and kind of just bringing that to a wider audience.
Yeah.
So with finding that truth in myself, I think it's important to share that mission. I think that's why, Carmen is so relatable, and I tell her all the time, like, people are naturally attracted to her energy. And that could just be when she says hi, when she walks into a room. She's engaging, she's captivating, she's smart, she has a lot to offer. Yeah, see, maybe this is how we connected.
Are you guys still newlyweds? 'Cause
yeah, so I do think a lot of my clients that I attract, a lot of clients I befriend, you specifically, Bethany, like, are always strong female forces. So I'm not surprised that I'm married to someone like Carmen. I'm not surprised that you and I connected. I'm attracted to that energy, and I think that energy just needs to be spread more. And if I have a gateway to 200,000 people on social media, I'm going to use it for that reason.
Yeah. And you've posted about that a lot in terms of, most of your feed is around workouts. And for anybody who's not following Elise, I'm telling you, they are like daily posts of things you can do when you're in the tiniest of hotel rooms in like random parts of the country, or things you can do with your children, or things you can do as a family, or things you can do after a run. Like, you have such a variety and such an approachable way of training people. But there's parts of your feed that are also very personal. And I would imagine as a brand, you have to, navigate through that and what you're comfortable with and what you're, willing to expose. And what risk is that to you as a business? What risk is that to Carmen as her business and her career? How do you grapple with that?
I'd say,
or how do you approach it?
Yeah, no, for sure. When I first started the page, I mean, it literally started by accident. It was a friend who said, hey, I need workouts for the 5K I'm running. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just put stuff on Instagram, I guess, and then figure it out. And I noticed the growth. And when I first started, I wasn't comfortable with sharing that part of my story, although I did, because I did think it was important. I come from a divorced family with, an alcoholic parent. So, like, the journey to this place, even
Same
as a kid. There we go, girl. So, like, that whole journey, it's not something I forgot, but, like, that's another element of who I am.
Yep.
Which comes through on my feed, I think. And I used to laugh because I would write something really personal, and it wasn't anything crazy. And I would take my phone and just set it, and I'd press post, and I'd throw my phone on the bed and literally walk out of my room for about an hour because I was too embarrassed. I didn't want to see the comments. I didn't want to know how it was being received, although I know the universe needed it.
Yeah.
But now, as I've gotten more comfortable with it, as I've kind of just stepped into more of who I am, and whether that's through therapy or long walks or a good conversation, whatever that is, I'm more comfortable sharing that because I know it's being received on the other side in a positive way.
Yeah. And it's just the ability for somebody who was like you 10 or 15 years ago, sitting there
100%.
struggling and saying like, I don't know if I can share this part of me. Will I still be loved? And we can all relate to that, right? Like there's this really ugly thing that I did, or this really ugly thing that I thought or said, or this really core part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And if I bring that to bear, are people going to love me? And it used to be a very personal and private thing, right? It'd be your friends, it'd be your school, it'd be your work. Now it's literally anyone
100%.
can be brought into that world. And how do you think of that, Carmen? Is that something that you guys talked about as a couple before you went down that path? Is it something that you know, because it does bring you into her, you know, following from the fitness perspective?
No, I think it's great. I mean, we, from the fitness perspective, whenever she opens up outside of that, because really a lot of people go for the motivation and just her energy and obviously the videos, of course, right? But then there's all that soft side that when she posts very personal posts, whether that be like about us or her journey, I think that when she does that, I mean, it's really more sort of organic. And then she says, hey, there's this post up that I, you know, put up that she's just opening up about. So, I think with that, like the only issue that she really, outside of like some just nasty trolls, right?
Yeah.
That just happens. It exists. I know there's like a big element of the LGBTQ plus like that realm that sometimes she hits a brick wall with. And I don't know if you can.
What do you mean you hit a brick wall? Yeah.
I mean, when we've addressed it, and we talk about it at length. Just going back to what Carmen said, we keep ourselves pretty separately combined, I guess you could say, in terms of our platforms.
Yep.
You know, we're not going to run by and be like, hey, I'm going to share this, and unless it's like a money conversation or something, like everything that's on there is stuff that we've already discussed.
Yep.
So then it's public. I'm not going to be like, oh, I had this conversation at work and I'm going to share it, and then I'm going to tell Carmen I shared it after I shared it too. Like that's not how it operates.
Yeah.
Nor should it ever operate like that. And just in regards to like the LGBTQ conversation, I always laugh because when we post photos and whatever, which is very rarely, the engagement will be off the charts. Engagement as in likes, comments, followers, all that stuff. That will just be through the roof. It'll be 3, 4, 5 times what my normal videos are.
Interesting.
But
because the people connection, is that
I
what
mean,
it
people
is?
love Carmen.
Yeah,
so.
well, we've already established that.
I think it's just like that realness, that rawness. And I also do think a high percentage of my followers are part of that community. So it's something relatable. They're like, oh, there's a trainer, and oh, the trainer with the videos. Oh, the trainer with the videos is also married to a woman.
Yeah.
This is cool. But with that, you know, like Carmen said, there's a lot of trolls. So there's people who will be like, nasty, where's the husband? And you're like, oh, snooze, delete. Like, I don't even pay it any mind anymore. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. That first couple times, it's got to sting though, right?
The first couple of times, yeah. And then after that, I'm like, this is so wild.
It's like,
It's just silly.
it's such a weird
I'd rather be
window
thrown on me than anyone else. But with that, I end up losing at this point. I think the last time I posted something, which was maybe your birthday or something, I lost up to like 4,500 followers within
holy crap
24 hours. Like
we
just
hate her birthday.
like that birthday of hers. Where's my push-ups? Like just like completely.
I don't want to see anything about a birthday.
She dates people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So and I watch it, and I'm not. You know, it's twofold, right? I watch it because one, I'm really hands-on with my analytics because I'm a business, and a portion of my business is on social media. So I watch it for that reason, but I also watch it because I'm just so curious as to what that is, you know?
Yeah.
And I do think the last time it was close to like 5,000. I went from like 212,000 to like 207 within a day. And I was blown away.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it keeps us from posting or talking about it because
No,
I'd
but
rather
it's just-
those people be there for a reason, but you can't help but be like, wow. This is wild. And the same thing happens on Carmen's page.
But I also think the way I've seen you post about it is to say like, hey, I am going to probably lose followers, and that doesn't matter to me. This is what matters to me, is for me to be truthful, for me to create this safe space. And like that is having way more impact on the rest of the community, and potentially even people who would have unfollowed you to think twice and be like, why am I reacting
100%.
this way? I think that's a really powerful tool. I want to switch gears a little bit. Carmen, I want to hear if you would share a little bit of your story, because I was obviously stalking you. And
That's what social media is for.
We are Instagram friends and now real life friends. So it's no more stalking.
What was your story? So first of all, getting sued for your student loans, it sounds like you owe me money and now you're just going to owe me even more money on top of that money. That's got to be a pretty scary moment.
It was frightening, and I didn't really have much in the bank. So just like before we even fast forward to that, in 2016, it was like, hey, Elise, I want to get out of debt. Do you want to come on this journey with me? And that's
so you guys were already together at this time. Well, that was 2016. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you can't like get out of debt on your own if you are with someone. You really have to make sure they're on board with you, which is those can be pretty tough conversations, whether you're married or you have a long-term partner. Like it's just something that you have to discuss. So I said, hey, I want to get out of debt. She was in full support of it. And after that process started, I started, getting on a budget and putting everything together. And the universe was just conspiring with me just to do great things. And then 3 months in, bam, I get sued. And I had like less than $3,000 in my bank account for a $30,000 student loan. And that was probably one of the scariest moments of just the most stressful, not scariest. Stressful moments of my life.
You're like trying to like stand yourself up. Yeah. And then to just get like knocked down like that.
Knocked down. And I tell everyone now, like, especially when they're trying to get out of debt, I was like, the universe is going to do everything possible to make sure you really want to do this and you're not going to go back to that place that you were in. Yeah. So early on, you're going to get hit with something that's going to like knock you off your feet and you're going to feel really discouraged about. But if you can power through that, then that's when the transformation will happen and you'll leap years beyond where you were, with your debt.
Yeah. I feel like that could apply to anything, right? Like weight loss, career, debt.
Yeah. It's crazy. Anything, it's just saying like, I'm big firm believer in the universe. And it's like, hey, if you really want to do this, if you're saying that you want to get out of debt, I'm going to challenge you up front. Yeah. Because, I could have paid off my debt in like a year. I'm not saying that I had the money, but it's example, paid it off in a year and then just backslid into my old habits.
Right, because that's super common.
Yeah, it's very common. So I think getting sued was, in retrospect, just like a crazy, crazy thing. So I got sued, worked really hard to get out of all of that, and basically took 2 years, 9 months for me to get out of debt. That had included car loans, collections. Majority of it was student loan accounts. But by doing that, my credit turned around. That was incredible for me and Elise. Now my credit's great. Yeah. We were able to save like a bunch of money for me to be able to quit my job after I had gotten out of the debt because that was kind of keeping me chained to my desk and working in finance in a position that I didn't necessarily want to be in anymore. And then that allowed me to shift gears after getting out of debt, saving the money, allowed me to switch gears and get into tech. Coding, something that I wanted to try my hand at and I love.
So you found, it's interesting, by paying off debt, it sounds like such a restrictive life plan, but you actually found more freedom from going through that process.
So it opened up so many more doors. The closer I got to becoming debt-free, the more my options just fell before my eye. Like everything just opened up. It just seemed so much clearer. But before then, and it got to a point with my job in finance, like that I wasn't having a good time. I wasn't happy. Elise could tell that I was a different person during the week. I was always stressed. So the closer I got to getting out of debt, the better and just clearer my vision became. And I was like, I can do so many more things after this. Yeah. I might not have any money just yet, but I can do so many more things. I'm not tied to this job anymore because I have student loans to pay. I have, my car payment to make. So everything just kind of opened up after that. That makes any sense.
No, it does. And I think it's such a huge indicator of mental health, like both of what you guys do in terms of physical health and financial well-being and how that ties into the way you show up every day and the way you get excited about your life or the way you feel like your options are endless. Has that been a big driver to kind of what you guys have worked to build?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Like, I think that the more options that you have in front of you, the more fulfilled life is. You just seem like the possibilities seem endless when you're able to kind of put yourself in this position. And it's not like other people. It's like, I created this. I did this on my own. And I went through the struggle. I struggled through it. I have figured it out. And now, like, I'm on the other side. And it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. Now I'm doing something that I absolutely love. I get to show up in jeans. We're listening to R&B and rap music in the office. Dogs are coming
Tech's
in.
a little different than finance. Yeah.
Maybe I should have always done this. But, it took 10 years of me grappling with something that I didn't care for. And, in retrospect, sometimes I do look back and regret a little bit because it's like, oh, I just wasted 10 years. But someone else just pointed out to me recently, that 10 years got me to the position that I'm in today because the kid saw me in one of the Forbes articles about quitting my job after, saving a bunch of money and getting out of debt. And that's because he worked in finance and did the same thing. And
that's awesome.
We connected that way. And that's how I got a job in tech.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's not, I was like, oh, maybe I don't regret it then.
Yeah.
I just wish it didn't take 10 years.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like, are there things you would have done differently? Or do you feel, going back to the universe? Because I always have that thing. My grandmother used to always say that deja vu was a sign that you're on the right track. And like so I always have that, like, are regrets in the moment just an indication that you don't quite know where you're going yet? Wow, we just got deep on this podcast.
Got a lot of pausing.
Super soul.
Yeah. But it's true. It's like I'm curious your opinion. Go ahead.
No, I think, we've even talked about it. It's like where I stand is where I am kind of situation. And I think so much of where we are currently is obviously based on all the decisions we've made in the past. So I'm not going to say I regret going here or not going here. There are some things that I wish career-wise maybe I didn't stay in because I felt like it was the right decision. I felt really secure at this one place, and I didn't feel like I should branch out to go one-on-one more and do more like in-home training, which is what I primarily do now, and teach group stuff. So there's all these like little small things, but I do think along the journey, and I've been in fitness 11 years now, I was always learning from every step I took around me. And that would be from clients' conversations to how I felt when the alarm goes off at 4:10 each morning, like what that looks like. It's not all the time, but it's pretty consistent. Thanks for Carmen for putting up with that alarm.
I was going to say, when you can sleep in, can you anymore?
At 10.
Oh, when I sleep in, I sleep like 13 hours, yes.
Oh, so you can still do that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Youth may be on your side, my friend. Okay.
But I just think it's no surprise that I'm standing and sitting for this point where I am because of the decisions I've made to this point, and I just think I always followed what I wanted to do, what my passion was, which was help people live healthier lives that are full of balance. So I just continued to pursue that, and I just did full throttle, I guess you could say. So it put me in a position where now I have, the awareness, the balance, the lifestyle that I want, and something that I wake up happy to do every morning. I may get tired around 3 p.m. or whatever that looks like, but to me, like, work excites me. Being around people excites me. I'm charged by people's energy. I love hearing, hey, I wasn't doing that a week ago, now I'm doing it now. So yeah, of course, there's like going to be a couple things I can think of that maybe I was like, I could have done this differently, but those open different doors. And I'll never forget one of the specific ones, which actually landed me at Google, was I think I was in DC. Carmen and I were on a weekend trip, and I was going to LA from DC on a Sunday night and a red eye for an Adidas event. And I remember having this moment of like, I don't want to go to JFK right now. I don't want to go to JFK right now. I don't love to fly. Like, there's so many things of disruptive to my schedule that I just didn't want to do. But I was like, you just got to go. You just got to go. So I went, and it was this whole retreat in California. It was amazing. It was awesome. And I happened to just be having breakfast in the hotel by myself. And I sat across from this guy, and he's like, I want to introduce you to someone. Anyways, fast forward, he introduced me to the head of fitness at Google. And she was like, I have an opportunity for you in New York. And that was 3 years ago. And now Google is a place where it's like, I'll call a second home, right?
Yeah.
And it's also put me in front of you. So there's so many things that the universe does when you just lean into it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I just said yes to a lot of these opportunities and just kind of grow from where I'm at.
Yeah, first of all, I love that that's the story that brought us together, but it's also that like instinct and like you talked earlier, Elise, about being comfortable in your own skin. And it's like you have to be comfortable in your own gut too, because there's things that you don't want to do. And on an earlier episode, we were talking about, sometimes there's shit that like, I just don't want to do. And you know what? I'm a big girl and I don't have to do it. So like, I'm going to make that call right now, or I'm going to cancel that trip because it's not important. And like your instincts to what is going to be the value is so critical there. And the ability to like be open to it, right? Like you didn't order breakfast into your room. You went down and sat to breakfast. He said he wanted to introduce you to somebody. You took that meeting. Like all of these things lead to more doors and more options. I think you shared with me, Elise, a story about like your basketball career. And obviously that's a team sport. And I think team sports versus individual sports are very different. So I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, of course.
But also like what grit did that teach you as you went from your high school into your collegiate career?
So, I mean, I was born with a basketball in my hands, essentially. My dad played basketball through college. He was drafted in the 1979 NBA draft. Like, he was a stud, and he's 6'10". So he's also huge.
Massive.
Wow.
I'm 5'6". So basketball was just always a part of our family. And I think growing up in the home we did, which I have two brothers, and they're very tall as well.
Older brothers?
I'm in the middle. So I'm
okay.
like
I
that
have two
middle
brothers as
child
well.
fighter. Yeah.
Oh,
look
see,
at
I'm the
us.
youngest. I'm the one that got away with everything. You got the middle child syndrome.
I'm the one that were like, go stand in goal and just let us kick stuff at you. I'm like, got it.
Oh, no, my brothers did that to me, too.
Put on roller skates and a helmet. We'll push you down the hallway. Okay. Yeah, so that was me.
I feel like parenting today, that shit does not happen.
No.
We're like so
I have
bubble
photo
wrapped our
evidence.
kids. I'm
Yeah.
like, I've got like a welt in the back of my head
Forget
from like
about
a
it.
Dukes of Hazzard belt buckle, like
Dukes
all
of Hazzard.
sorts of shit, which would probably be like off market now. But
Vintage.
anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just think athletics was always something that was huge in our family. And, you know, we were talking about watching football or whatever that looks like. And I always felt, like I said, my best self when I was playing basketball or playing a sport. That was where I was 100% me. I was fierce. Wanted to be aggressive. I loved playing a team sport because I love watching people around me get better, which is something I love doing now. I love watching my clients get better. So there's all these themes kind of run parallel to each other now. And then my dad and my brother both played at Fairfield University. So when I was in high school, you know, I was good. I wasn't a D1 basketball player by any means. And that's not me cutting myself short. It's just being realistic, you know. And I was like, I'm going to Fairfield. I'm going to walk on the team. And my dad was like, okay. And I'm like, no, I'm going to make the team. He's like, okay. So I walked into a locker room in September of my freshman year, and all there was like a locker that just like had my name and like some scribble. It says like ELYSE. My name's ELISE. It was just like everything about it just felt like, let's see how this turns out. And I had 14 full scholarship student athletes looking at me like, who the hell is this right now? And I remember the coach saying like, we're going to give you a week to make the team. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to go well. I was like, all right.
No pressure.
Yeah. I look around. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we got on the court, and the pace, everything about it was just over my head. And I was like, no, but I'm still not going to let this pass me by. So I just continued to work. And I knew in the back of my head, and it wasn't even just like a self-doubt thing. I was like, you're going to make the team, but you're not going to play. And I was okay with that. I was into the role that I was playing, which was kind of part joker, part like team spirit, but also the one who pushed everyone to be better. So for 4 years, I did take a 2-week hiatus where I quit and just had a meltdown. I was like, I'm done with this. This makes no sense, and joined the team again. But that was sophomore year. But I wanted to play, and I knew I wanted to play. And I didn't care if it was on the white team, which is the practice team, because we'd have to wear the white jerseys, or if that was to play 3 minutes at the end of the game when we were up by 150 points so I couldn't blow the lead, you know? I was like, nothing builds confidence.
Not
like,
even she can ruin this for us.
You got it, right? I'm like, I got it.
We're in
Okay.
the clear.
This is 20 years of a sport. So I just embraced that role. And with that, I learned so many things from those lessons because, you know, when you're a scholarship athlete, you're kind of being paid to be there. There's a ton of that goes into it, but you kind of know that that's going towards your tuition, and that's kind of like a way to get you to stay as being a student athlete. To me, I was like, why am I showing up if I'm not getting anything out of this?
Right.
But I knew, and to your point about earlier, like trusting that gut instinctively, I knew I was receiving so much more than the financial side. I knew I was learning lessons. I knew I was getting taught time management, how to get my ass out of bed after being up with my roommates, like all of these things that looking back, I would never, ever, ever change.
Yeah.
And my junior and senior year, I was actually awarded full scholarship. So the coach was like, you know, you earned it. So and at Fairfield University, I think tuition then was like $42,000. So
holy crap.
I remember
amazing.
sobbing,
Yeah.
and my dad being like, oh my goodness. So that was huge.
This is incredible.
Yeah, it was
Amazing.
wild. What is this? What do I do? But that whole journey just taught me so much about what I already had inside of me. And that kind of kicked off the next steps for me, because I knew if I could stand at that team at 5'5" and make it and just pursue and keep pushing through those 4 years, that I wasn't going to let anything else get in front of me. So I've kind of just taken that with me. And that's why sport my whole life has been a huge part of it. And that's why it carries on to my career now.
Yeah. And I think it's
particularly for girls, like growing up and that connection to your body. Like I always think about, I'll have moments in my life where I'm exercising more or less, but you can feel when you're like out of sync with your physical self. So it doesn't matter what people say about the scale, or it doesn't matter, how many miles you can run. Like when you feel like you're not in sync, like it's just a very strange feeling to me. I don't think everybody has that. But I do think for girls, particularly when they're younger, when there's so many body issues and body image issues, having some athletic skill set can really help to think of your body as less than just what other people are seeing.
For sure.
And it gives you the confidence too.
Yeah.
And you learn that like early on, I think.
Yeah. And first of all, how did you two meet?
Online dating by way of Facebook. We are true millennials.
You really are. So for what it's worth, I met my husband over work email, which was in 19... God, when was it? No, I think it was like 2001. But at the time, like no one dated online. But my mom kept saying, "Oh, they met on the internet." And I was like, "Jesus Christ, Mom!" Like it was so embarrassing. But it's now, Mom. It's now something different. But and so, are you obviously you're physically fit? But was that like have you always been physical? Was this like a
we were just talking about
does it have to be to be married to Elise?
No, so it's so funny because I get that question all the time, and I think we were talking about this 2 days ago.
Carmen was a track star.
So yeah, I ran track. I ran track in high school.
What was your event?
800 and the
I spent so much time at track meets. I can't even tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, like 8 hours on Sunday. But who's counting?
No, yeah.
For like 4 minutes of running.
Yeah, that's it.
And then I laid down with my son that night. He's like, "So what'd you do today?" I'm like, "Motherfucker." I was in Staten Island for 8 hours. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
And those are really fun events, I'm sure, for parents. And I played basketball, but not at a collegiate level. I wanted to play basketball, just wasn't good enough. So I was great at track or whatever. Ended up having a knee surgery my senior year, and then that made me just really depressed, to be very honest. I got really down about it because, in track, milliseconds are like everything and can take months of work to just get your time down. So that kind of fell through. I was actually going to run at DePaul.
Oh.
But to your question.
So it happened like you were already set, ready to go.
Like I was ready.
Injury
set me back. And then I just kind of got in my own way on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's super devastating.
Yeah, it was tough.
I actually worry about that with kids too, when it's particularly in this era where college is increasingly more and more expensive, and there's, you have parents who are talking about scholarship when their kids are like learning to crawl, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you get so worried about all these like eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
If something happens, what is the fallback?
What ended up happening? I had no idea. Like at that point, I had to end up applying to. Didn't apply to any other schools. I ended up last minute applying to Florida Atlantic University. It just wasn't even on my radar. Like they had late admission. I got into college at that point, and just all my eggs were in one basket. But to answer your question, the short story on that is always been athletic. As far as like just working out and staying in shape and just having that kind of mentality from being in the gym and just like you said, being in tune with your body, because I do think sports does give you that kind of like I just something feels out of whack, like I need to get in. It might ebb and flow for a lot of women, but I do think that sports does help build that kind of foundation, just getting more in tune with your body. So yeah, me and Elise were actually talking about this the other day because I get it all the time. Do you work out? Like, how do you feel?
Is Elise your trainer?
Yeah, is Elise your trainer? I was like, we actually have completely different workout styles, which I think it's funny.
Oh, interesting.
We will work out.
We work out next to each other.
30% of the time, together. But usually she does like more body weight stuff, more movements, and I'm just like pure like, just give me one movement kind of things. I'll sit in a chair,
like
do some
what,
dumbbells.
Okay.
Just barbell, whatever. Like just very old school. Half the time I go in there, and not that she's ashamed of me ever, but my outfits, I just look like an old dad at the gym. Just
she wears like really big flare gray sweatpants and white socks, and she just owns it.
I get in there, get it done.
I'm like, ooh, I got my new set on.
Yeah.
Let's go, babe.
Yeah, and Elise is like, I have the thing. She's like always looking really chic whenever she goes into the gym. So nice, because that's, her career and what she does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go in there looking like a hot mess and try not to embarrass her. But then at the end of the day, I don't care.
So when you see her working out, so you're not like, because your form is ridiculous. Like, it makes us all angry. So you're not like watching her and like, oh, babe, you just want to like.
No, she already had.
I would cut her with my eyes. If
there's
she
some
tried.
lines we draw on many things.
It's so hard.
If she tried to crack me, I think, but no,
and she already had such like a foundation before we met, and I'm not saying that was one of the reasons I was attracted to her, but of course I was like, oh, look at what goes on here. She's smart, she can write, she can all these things, and she's in great shape. She clearly works out. Like, there's just so many things that I was already attracted to her, but she already had that foundation. So I
always find it shocking when couples have vastly different exercise habits, right? Like, and it happens a lot, right? But like, you'll have like somebody where the guy's like training for a triathlon and the woman hasn't moved in a decade, or like vice versa. And it amazes me because at least in our family, like, athletics is just such a big thing where like you just got to do something. We don't care if you're the worst one on the team, which is great. But like, everybody's got to do something. You've got to move your body. Luckily with my daughter, it's not an issue because she does like 8 million handstands a day. My son's got running, but it's funny. I just can't imagine having, and my husband and I do very different workouts, right? Like, he'll box, I'll go to yoga. Like, we'll do some stuff together, but it's not like, he's tried to teach me how to surf, and it always ends up like, first of all, he'll give me like the whole history of like the wave that's coming and why this is over here and this is a sandbar and I'm just like, just tell me when to paddle. Just tell me. And then like the board hits me, I end up crying on the beach and I've got bruises on my arm, and it's just like, it's so bad. Yeah. It's just a place we cannot go to in our relationship.
Yeah, the extent of our gym planning is, do you want to go at 9:30 or 10? And then we get in the car together. And then we leave together.
And like, funny, she always tries to get me to run. And I always tell her, don't force me or don't pressure me into running. And it's just the funniest thing because she loves to run and I have always hated it. It was just something that
really? Even for a track?
Everyone says that. I never really enjoyed it. It was never my outlet. I was just really good at it. And now I'm trying to get my cardio back up. But she she was like, oh, do you want to go for a run? Very lightly and just gracefully, like an angel. And I'll say, don't pressure me into something that I'm not ready for.
I'm going to do it.
It's like triggering a totally different conversation.
Oh, I adjust how I ask now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I might go for a light run on Sunday. Do you want to join me? No, I'm going to go when I want to go.
Or then it turns into like, oh, well, I'll do a walk run. No, don't pressure me into, I'm not ready to commit to this. And it's only with running. It's literally the story of our lives when it comes to just, well, I want to just get a few steps in today. No.
We did do a 5K together recently.
We did.
So that's the goal-oriented, though. Like, the day of a run, that's different than just the general jog in between. Do you... So are you still doing Make Real Sense? Is that still on? So that's an ongoing platform.
Ongoing. That is my baby that I like to share now. Like, on the other side of debt, we're more so it's sharing content about savings, but still, like, I hit all of the different areas and aspects of all things personal finance. So it's growing. It's a platform that's continuing to grow, and I'm just really excited to see where it goes from here.
So are you establishing a community, or is it more resources? Is it both?
It's both. The community, I'll do a lot of speaking events now, or not a lot. It's starting to come up a lot more. But just building a community, and then I do like coaching and stuff like that on the side, and then also resource building. So whatever I use that makes sense for me, make real sense. No pun intended. Whatever makes sense for me, I'll put it out there for other people to use. And, like, hey, this is a proven thing. It worked for me. This is how I did it. You should do it too. This is your style. I mean, there's so many people in this personal finance space, but I think it all depends on who you relate to best. But either way, just, I'm a big advocate of just getting the help that you need in order to turn your financial situation around.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting topic too, because so many people are just saddled with debt, and that's how they live. And I talk a lot about kind of people's emotional relationship with money, because we all were raised in different households, and likely our parents, if there were two of them, also had different relationships with money growing up. And parents have different spending habits that you see as a child, and you see how it influences their mental health or their happiness. And it's just really interesting. And then you partner up with somebody that's also had these other multiple data points of a relationship with money. And it just, you can see it as this huge ball of, you know, just kind of a convoluted mess. But the most critical thing, particularly when you're buying a house or you're, you know, working together, you're managing a business, you're running your career, all of those things kind of play in. So how do you guys, so if you guys are both running your own entrepreneurial stuff at home, like, do you have a rigid schedule? Like when I do stuff at home, because I have my day job and then I have the podcast and some of the stuff I do at the platform outside, and I just kind of feel like I'm always working. How do you guys approach that?
This question.
We could stop now.
No, which is great. Honeymoon phase, right, babe?
Now it's over, right? No,
After tonight is when
this question moves into like
we
just
got a
marriage.
train ride home to talk about this. I would say we have learned a lot the last year, 2 years about each other, about how we work, and about how to balance our relationship and what works best for us. I would say we'd hit a stride definitely the past couple months of kind of allocating time for us, our one-on-one time and our relationship, as well as never interfering with what our goals and dreams are together and separately. So we kind of find that groove. And, you know, we had talked about it when Carmen was working in finance, that she didn't get to do a job she loved, which allowed her to work on her side hustle. Mm-hmm. And she made that very clear, and I appreciate that because I do love what I do. So it's easy for me to edit on the train. It's easy for me to create. I'm naturally filled with moments of me wanting to express what I'm doing day to day, but also to my entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a lot of work, but it comes really naturally, and I kind of just let it flow through me, which allows me to take time away at home a little bit more. I still work a ton on the weekends. I still edit like crazy. There's always, I think everyone views at this point, like social media is like, oh, that's cool. It just kind of happened overnight. Like the back end work that goes into our platforms, I mean, it's got to be an extra 20 hours a week almost. And we're both working full time. So I don't just do quote unquote social media. Like I work full time and I do that on top of it. So to say back to your question, we do work a lot. We do work a lot on the weekends, but I think we find a way to always know when it's time to shut it down and say, let's go to a movie, let's go to dinner, phones upstairs, whatever that looks like, because we know that we are our best version in work and we are our best version in our relationship when we take time together.
Yeah.
So when we run into these like tornadoes, which we can, and where we just have so much stuff to do independently that all of a sudden our connection might be a little off, which is going to happen, but that doesn't translate well at work, right? So I think we found like a good groove. I mean, I'd love to hear Carmen's side on this. So
it's not like all heart stars and rainbows, right? Like I mean,
but
just
this is working wife happy life.
Rebrand.
Just to keep it real
every day.
just to keep it real, to what Elise had said, like in the beginning when we were trying to find our grooves with the platforms, it was something literally I couldn't work on at all at work. So to be able to grow it out, it was early mornings for me, the couple of hours before work, and then all I had was the time after work and the weekends. That's it. Because when I'm at my desk in finance, kind of everyone's looming over each other, and you have to be obviously doing what you're supposed to be doing and getting paid to do, right?
Yeah.
So we initially that was a little rocky for us to kind of work out because again, Elise has a little bit of a looser schedule as far as like being able to edit and not being like time checked as far as a boss standing over her, like, you have to get this done, you have to get this done. So there was more pockets for her to be able to work on stuff outside of her full-time stuff to build out her career. And then that's when in the beginning, it was a little rough. Like we were trying to figure that out because I can definitely be a workaholic. I think that's just my natural default where Elise can unplug a little bit easier. So we found a groove now that I think has been working really well. I'm still trying to get up early in the morning to work out stuff just so I can make sure.
Well, she's got a 4 a.m. alarm
she has a 4 a.m. Most of the time now I can't go back to sleep, but that's a great opportunity for me to get up and get things done. Go to the gym
early.
Yeah. Things start early, and then that frees up time on the way home. And then now with our commute, that helps as well. So
sometime, yeah, it's so interesting. At least when you were saying that, because this is such a passion for what you do, that's actually easier for you to unplug. I was expecting that to go the complete opposite way, where it's I feel like you have like a very like a healthy sense of control over it. Like there will always be more to do and it will get done, and kind of I know where this is going, so I can stop now.
Yeah, 100%. And it took me a while to get to that place, right? And I think it took me to be 100% on my own to really find that stride and that groove. And the early parts of my career, I would just take on anyone at any time, and they could be a rude client, they could be a late client, they could be anyone. And now at this point, I say it all the time, I'm so grateful that I have people in my life that I've had for 8, 9, 10 years, clients just on rotation that are the same people that came to the wedding. And I'm so familiar with my schedule at this point that I know the pockets of when I need to stop at Starbucks or when I need to work out or what everything looks like in my day, although it could be a day where I have 10 working hours or 5 working hours. I really focus on my schedule the night before and going into the morning of what it looks like, and I balance it out. And I know myself, and I always say that I want my 6 a.m. to be treated the way my 6 p.m. is. Like I never want to be tired or not fully 100% myself for any of my sessions. Everyone deserves a full, consistent 110% me. 1, they're paying a premium to do so, and 2, I pride myself on having a very strong work ethic. I'm in the classes. Like I never want to be like, oh, Elise seems tired or in a bad mood. Like it needs to be consistent.
It's so funny that you say that because I literally had that thought last week.
Did I seem tired?
No, because I think I came to the early class, which I didn't normally do. And I was like, no, she's not like walking around yawning. She's not like you don't phone it in. Ever.
In order to have high retention and be professional in your craft, I think that's so important. Yeah. So in order for me to do that while also maintaining a healthy relationship and friendships and also my social media platform, it's going to involve me to really take a macro look at my schedule and know where I need to recharge, know where I need to get shit done, know where I need to respond to emails, because all of a sudden everything could just spiral out of control and I'll have 100 emails left unread and I'll have influencer marketing stuff due the next morning and I won't have anything done. And actually this year, as of September, I started working from home on Thursdays, which was a huge step for me because when I first started, I only knew, in fitness, you can work 7 days a week, you can work 10 sessions a day. You can just run yourself into the ground. And that's what I knew it as. That's what I viewed success in this career when I first started. Now, to me, it's just about working smarter. So on Thursdays, I sleep in more, I get my laundry done, I create all the content I want to create for that week. There's just so many back-end things that I need to do to hold myself at a high level all the time. And I think it's important once you understand what those things are, whether it's sleep, whether it's your workout, whether it's your Sunday morning run, whatever that looks like, it's going to allow everything else to be really fluid and just kind of come natural. I'm very routine oriented with my schedule, what time I call in my egg white bites from Starbucks. Like everything about me is very structured. Like I know
you call them and then go pick them up.
Oh,
no time
I do
to wait. No time in the
I do a
schedule to wait.
drive-by. I actually order them at Harlem 125th Station, and by the time I get to Grand Central, they are hot and ready.
Well, I was just going to say you're very suburban, but this is a city thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Efficiency and speed.
Yeah.
Well, it's no doubt that that's how you operate because that's how you present yourself in terms of your workouts and everything. And it's inspirational because you're hitting on some key tenets of success, and it's boundaries and like knowing when you're at your best and being okay with when you're not. And so how do you make those things work for you so that you can sustain the performance that you want to have? And I think that's a really insightful lesson for us to wrap up on. I am so thrilled that we made this happen and to meet two badass entrepreneurs and a lovely couple that have lots of lessons and things that they can share with one another and with our listeners. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you so much for having us.
And check out Make Real Sense and Elise's Bodyshop so you can get financially fit, physically fit, mentally fit.
All of the things.
All of the things.
All of the things.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for our conversation in Newsstand Studios at Rock Center. Lots more to come every Tuesday, so head on over to iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Please feel free to leave us a review to give us some direct feedback and also to help get the podcast in front of more eyes and ears. We really appreciate your support. Until next time.